where you need to ask yourselves, how far are you running with the plans that you laid at the beginning of the month and at the beginning of the year as well? But nonetheless, you're most welcome for the first edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show for this week. And my name is Farish Majid, and I know you must have had quite a long week, and this is already where we witnessed a lot of activities, both good and bad. We were able to see a lot of weddings going on. We want to congratulate whoever got married over the weekend, but also really as well, we also funerals, but we still say we want to condole with you who lost your loved ones over the weekend, because definitely the two move hand in hand. Definitely, we always say when there's an excitement, definitely there's already somebody mourning out there, and that is why we want to also really mourn with whoever lost their dear ones also really over the weekend. But we say, may their souls rest in eternal peace. For those who are still within the hospitals, we say, may God give you quick recovery also really than to your relatives who are still sick. We want to also really pray for them as well, for God to give them a healing hand in there, because at the end of the day, we understand that is something that maybe could be causing a lot of stress for you. But we are saying that is all God's plans, and we must also really accept it in the way that it has come to you. And this is where I want to take this opportunity now to welcome you back. And remember, it being a Monday, usually we also tell you a lot that has happened quite over the weekend. We were able to see a lot of good and bad things, and the president, of course, the biggest was his weekend message, where he was able to talk to the nation about a lot of issues of national importance, first of all on wealth creation and other issues. But later on, we shall be joined on that discussion by Charles Ichogor, the resident city commissioner of Arua City, and with whom we are going to be delving into that conversation that is in relation to what we call President Museveni's speech in there. But really want to also ask you now, to the viewer, to keep it also until 7:30. That's when he will be joining us. But for now, I want to remind that so many issues continue to happen over the weekend, both good and bad as well. And the EC chairperson, that is Justice Simon Byabakama, was already here over the weekend, and he was able to also really move, that is a number of schools here. That this was on Friday, where he came to inspect what we call the Electoral Commission Regional Building, that's in Arua City, which is now said to be taking shape. And over 40% of the works, I can confirm to you, have already been done. It means we are just left with about 60% of the works to be done within a shortest time of period. It means we are still not also seeing extensions of the project. It means that within this period, we are still within the stipulated period of time that is for the construction works to be going on here. And the work is being done by the UPDF Engineering Brigade, which I must say is also really something very, very much good in there, because we are able to see no extension of this also project. But unlike the works that have been given the private contractors, really this is where I want to also really say the private contractors need to pick something also really from UPDF, because at the end of the day, we are now seeing recruits also really of what we call professionals. We never know that most of these are actually going to be turned to work with the engineering brigade, and that means the more the numbers, the more projects already the government of Uganda should be able to give the UPDF engineering brigade, because at least with them we have seen issues of non-extensions of projects, we have seen issues also really of doing work within the stipulated period of time, and the quality also really as well sometimes is already very, very much good in there. And that's why we want to say the private constructors, you need to open up your eyes, because at the end of the day, if at all you are not doing so, then it is you at lose also the contracts that will that come from government, and then the government will be able to solely give the projects to the UPDF engineering brigade without any problems in that. And I want to say that is something which at the end of the day I really want to remind you of, because if at all I'm not reminding you, then definitely you may take it for granted, but which may not be right. And that's where I'm saying the works are now also really moving on, and we did see the man also really touring a number of schools, and he was able to move to Mvara Senior Secondary School, where the students also really were able to raise a number of issues. And one of those critical issues that the students, which I felt also really I need to let you know, the viewer, that they asked the EC chairperson, was the issue of shutting down the internet during election period in there. And that is one thing also really which I feel at the end of the day I need to let you know of, because these are pertinent issues that the students were able to put forward before the EC chairperson. And remember, the country is yet to undergo what we call electoral reforms, and EC also recently came out that they are going to be carrying out the electoral reforms anytime. But for now, they are still halting, as yet we are getting closer to 2025. And 2025, this is when we start witnessing elections, active elections going on. But I don't know what exactly that will be able to mean to the viewer. That's maybe somebody who is out there who has been waiting for these reforms. But I want to take this opportunity and say today the students were able to raise that question on your behalf, you who is watching us. And then there is another issue of electoral violence, which also we have seen by leaders being arrested, and also these are pertinent issues which I really feel also you as the viewer needs to know of, because definitely these are issues that we have most often raised concern of, and we have also most talked about. But how do we make sure that these issues do not go on? Because the Electoral Commission, by the way, plays a critical role in terms of organizing a free and fair elections. And we are in a democratic state, and definitely to also prove that democracy, it is through EC, where we have to do voting for our leaders right from the chair local levels. And one thing I also really feel the students need to take for themselves is the issue of the youth involvement in active elections and in active politics, because usually there's a saying, there's nothing for us without us. And this is where I want to implore the youth to sort of take the opportunity and take the advantage of also really engaging in what we call active politics ahead of 2026, because definitely there's someone who was able to tell me that the youth are not also really seriously engaged into what we call active politics, but most of them think it is good for them to also really support other candidates, also really their mandates and their ideologies in there, and other than also really focusing on also really being a part of those who can be in the lead in there. And that is one thing also really I feel we need to also really remind you of as we get to move on with the show, because definitely this is something I really feel should also really be also really in the know of. And somebody may be asking himself, now how is this building also really very, very much important to EC, or maybe the country at large, or to you as the viewer? But I'm saying Electoral Commission for a long period of time has been renting the facilities, which has already been generating a lot of money from our taxpayers, which has already been going into those facilities in there. But now I believe there's relief, because the facility is now going to be initiated out of just for Uganda, and that is one thing also already now I want to say there will be no more rents. It means that the facility which is already being built will first of all be used for keeping these also facilities and also these electoral materials during elections in there, and that is one thing also already feel I need to let you know of. And that is one thing also already where I will be summarizing that discussion with. And now also already another story that we are seeing on the paper this morning is the return of the Magulu Nyondo, the Chuchu, the king of Buganda, that is Kawaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi, and he was also returned to the country after the country where he has been getting treatment from, that Namibia, has failed to also really extend his visas for him to stay in the country in there. And what does this mean? Still, I want to say as a country, for the king to be denied what we call a visa of also health, in that means that sorry, as a country, this should be as a warning and also as a lesson for us to sort of pick something from. And we also need to do one thing that is quite simple for us to develop our health facilities in there, because we may be having the professionals who get the treatment. Because recently, what we did see is that most often we have realized that sorry, we have Ugandan sons and daughters who are into these big hospitals across the world. Because when Olanya was in the hospital, we were able to see also the Ugandan doctors also who were there, and when we also saw a number of issues, and also a number of also by these big dignitaries who have also moved also to seek for what we call medical attention outside Uganda. Most often they have also really come out to say they were attended to, at least by people who were once in Uganda here, and these are our daughters and sons. But why don't we bring such people back and also really establish what we call modern health hospitals, so that such big dignitaries really, to me, do not need to be transferred also really to seek medical attention from outside the country? And Namibia also already stated one reason, and what the reason is that also really, according to their laws, for one to stay in that country, it has to be below 60 days, and after 60 days, you are not also really permitted to also really extend your stay in there if at all you are visited for health. And that's also something we did is happening in there. And also really, rumor has that also really that these people have also let go of the king out of their country because of the rampant also what we call demonstrations outside the hospital facility. Also, it could be by our Ugandan daughters and sons, but we are saying that shouldn't be the case. As a country, we need to solely pick a leaf from what is already happening in our neighborhood, Kenya. But we are not saying we need to engage in what we call a rampant or these demonstrations, because they paint a wrong image of us. And that is why, at the end of the day, it is also really us to suffer as a country. But really, we are still praying for him to solely have a quick recovery in there. And I believe here, still he can't be able to solely fully get required, maybe also treated, because if at all, God has also already maybe put the healing hand with this little treatment he has gotten from there. Still, our daughters back here, and I believe in the potential of our doctors. Definitely also really, they may still do their best to also make sure that he has a healing hand in there. And that is one thing also we continue to pray 2024, because this did not go well with the cross-section of the Baganda, and they believe that is only as a reason also for their king to also be released. And I really feel that is something at the end of the day I need to remind you of, but it is still a matter. Regardless, we are still welcoming back. We welcome him back, and we want to say we are going to be standing with him and the people of Buganda sub-region, Buganda region entirely, because if at all that is not also something we need to talk about, then definitely we are going to be seeing also that also happening in there. But really the message that we should be driving home for the decline of the visa extension is that we need to also build on our medical facilities. We need to empower them. We need to give them also the resources they need, first of all, by buying the equipment that they need at the hospitals, developing them, and enhancing salaries of what we call these medical professionals, so that so we do not have professionals who leave the country to also go and look for better opportunities outside the country in there. And that is something also I feel I need to let you know of, and that is one thing at the end of the day I don't know what you as the viewer can be able to also share your opinions on, but really we want to say your ideas, thoughts, and also really comments are highly welcome also really to our various social media platforms. For those of you watching us via Facebook, you can drop in there, and you who is watching us via YouTube also really feel free to drop your comment in there, and I will be in position to go through it later on. But we are still continuing to go on with the show as our final destination remains, that is 9 o'clock. And at 7:30, we are also really hopeful that we are going to be joined by our guest who will also really be here to also talk on issues of national importance in there. But as we get move on with the show, remember that so many issues continue to happen, and both good and bad, but really we say we are still following up on these issues, and as a country and as a station, we remain committed to also really informing you of what is happening in there. And that is something also really earlier on I did talk to you of, and I really feel also we need to take it that seriously in there. If at all we not also take it serious, and then definitely it will be us also really as a country to also really continue to suffer in there. And that is one thing also really where I will be not also extending with that conversation, but really want to leave it at that as we get to move on with the show. And we also really have the message that we want to send government and also really other stakeholders is that we need to empower our medical facility, because if at all we're not doing it, every time when we see our dignity that has been flown out of the country, really it paints a bad image of our medical profession. It makes us feel as if the potential of our medics is not trusted. But we are saying that shouldn't be the case. We need to empower them also really, first of all, by giving them the necessary environment, because at the end of the day we have seen these schools, most of these higher institutions of learning are producing what we call medics each and every year. But where do they go to? And why should we also continue to let our dignitaries go seeking for medical attention out of the country, sorry? And that is always something at the end of the day I feel I need to also really ask you, the viewer, of what does it tell about our medical maybe fraternity? Definitely you have the best answers, and I will be checking through that answer later on as we get to move on with the show. But that is where I'm leaving that discussion aside with. And on a good note, our own has already been appointed to, that is also the African court in there, and I believe this is already a source of excitement, and one thing that must also really make us as a country proud, because for our own to be appointed to also the African court in there, and then that means also the trust is there as also maybe in the country and also in our judicial system in there. But we want to say congratulations for also raising our flag very, very much high in there. And that is also one of the stories that also really brings us to this week, and that is where we did see a High Court judge, that is Duncan Gaswaga, has been appointed to serve a 6-year term on the African Court also on Human and People's Rights by the Executive Council of the African Union in there. And that is something we did see also really over the weekend. And something also that brings us also to this edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show. And the Judge Gaswaga was elected on Friday with the support of 46 member states in Accra during the 45th session of the African Union Executive Session of the African Union, and also Council of Ministers, as he replaces, that is Ben Kiyoko from Kenya, who retired after 2 terms of 6 years each, that is from 2012, that is 2018, and also really from 2018 to 2024 in there, after serving a 2-year term in there. And we want to say kudos and congratulations to our own, that is Duncan Gaswaga, for having also been appointed to African Court in there. And also elected for 6-year second term, we are Justice Blaise Chikaya from Congo. We also do have Justice Stella Anukam of Nigeria. Both also justices were initially appointed to African Court on Human and also People's Rights in July of 2018 for their first 6-year term in there. And that is one thing also where we did see that also happening. And I believe as a Pan-Africanist, this should also really be as a point of excitement and also really as a point of relief, because our Ugandan flag has now been raised high, and as a Pan-Africanist and as a patriot as well, and I must say I'm super excited about this. And this is already where we need to also really ask our citizens and also really our countrymen to also take advantage of engaging in such opportunities, because at the end of the day, this is where we are going to be proud of. And the African Court on Human and People's Rights consists of 11 judges, nationals of African Union member states elected in their personal capacities, and the court commenced operations, that's in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, in November 2006, and relocated to its current seat, that's in Arusha, in Tanzania, in the year of 2007. That was in the month of August in there. And update, it is now in Arusha, and that is also where the African Court also really sits as per now. And we want to say this is something that also really our Ugandan judges also really need to pick a leaf from, and the young lawyers who also out there, and this is also the way I want to say you need to take advantage of also really, maybe having such admiration, such that also really you engage in such activities that also really will be able to make us proud as a country in there. And who is Justice Duncan Gaswaga, as somebody may be interested in also knowing that before his appointment, Justice Duncan Gaswaga served as what we call the resident judge of the Little High Court Circuit, and in August 2016 he was appointed chairperson of Anti-Corruption Commission in cycles after having previously served in its judiciary as the magistrate, and later on also in as a Supreme Court judge. That is from 2002 to 2013, and the decision is to establish the Anti-Corruption Commission was announced also by President James Michael during his State of Nation address in February 2016. Also in there, and the commission was empowered to investigate, and also detect and prevent corruption practices, as well as promote also complaints and receive complaints and conduct investigations already in that already in institutions receiving government also funding and donations. In 2006, Justice Gaswaga, then a magistrate, was appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court also in cycles, and that's something also which I want to remind you of. It means that you can still rise through the ranks already after believing in yourself. Just like this man, he rose through the ranks, and now he has reached the peak. And this is one thing also really I feel as the viewer also you need to pick maybe a leaf from, and as the country and as that young lawyer who is in school, definitely you can also become like this man that we are talking about. Only you need to believe in yourself. And Justice Gaswaga is also one of the 4 judges who presided over the lengthy Thomas Kiwelo case at the International Criminal Crimes Division, that's of the High Court, sitting in Gulu, and the case is also currently also awaiting judgment scheduled for next month. And the 53-year-old holds a bachelor's of degree from law from the University of Dar es Salaam, and has received several certificates and diplomas in law from universities in Uganda, Denmark, and South Africa. It means that you still can become like this gentleman. For now, we run for our first commercial break, and when we bounce back, we still have lots more to discuss with you. Stay tuned. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Cameras, check. Lights, check. Sound, check. Judges, check. Action. Get ready for the Miss Uganda Grand Finale live at 8 p.m. on 3rd August 2024. 28 finalists in boot camp. 1 crown. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Follow the beautiful journey to the final on Makula Chika, exclusively on Star Times every Friday and Saturday at 8 p.m.
Sponsored by VNA, LMZ, Comform, Nigerian Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors, Grass Textiles and U Home.
Miss Uganda 2024. True Ugandan beauty.
Peters College where girls invites parents, political leaders at all levels, civil servants, civil society organizations, the business communities, cultural leaders, OGs of our girls and OBs of St. Aloysius College Nyapea, schools representatives within Zombo and all well-wishers for the school's Patron Saints Day on the 20th of July 2024 at the school starting at 10 a.m. with Holy Mass to be presided over by His Grace Raphael Pumonyo Courage, the Archbishop of Gulu Archdiocese. There will be a fundraising to collect funds for the renovation of staff houses and purchase of a grinding mill for the school. The chief guest for the day will be Dr. Joyce Kadushu Moriku, the State Minister for Primary Education. My name is Gramia Vivian, the head girl of St. Peter's College where girls. I also invite you all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial break, and now I want this opportunity to welcome you back into our second half of the first hour, and we already 34 minutes after 7 o'clock, and it's a Monday, and you who is still at home are planning to leave for work, we are saying you must hurry because it is the first bird that catches the fly. If at all you are going to be keeping it home, at the end of the day, trust me, you're not necessarily going to be getting what you want to get. And this is where I want to say, if at all you are still at home and you're supposed to go to work, you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to go to wherever you wanted to go to, you must make sure that you go now, because at the end of the day, that is already where you will also be getting what you want. And this is where I also really want to question whoever is still home and also really maybe planning and also really feeling lazy. I want to say really laziness is not for Monday, but this is also really where I want to say, we must be serious, because if at all we're not serious, and then definitely that is where we are not going to be getting what we want. But as we get move on with the show, and remember earlier on we were talking about a number of issues where I did summarize the first half of the first hour was the story of Duncan Gaswaga being appointed to that is already African court in there, and that is one thing also really which I said makes us proud as a country. And this is where I want to say, as the country also we need to also engage in ourselves in such activities that will also be making us proud as a nation in there. But now is as we get moving the second hour of the second half of the first hour. Now let's begin the story straight away with one of the stories happening on the New Vision, where 69 people have also really been arrested or forged documents. This is another story we are seeing on the papers this morning. But how did they find their way? That is to Kabalia Training School in Masindi in there, after beating also the systems of their various also the local governments in there, because this people applied and the shortlisting was done from Kampala, and now we are also seeing now about 69 arrested for fake papers. What went wrong? How did they find their way up to Masindi is also another story that also really we should be asking ourselves. Could it be that some rat is smelling somewhere? Definitely I do not know, but I can say that also at least 69 recruits at the Kabalia Training School in Masindi district are now under investigation forgery and uttering false documents. This is already some story that we are seeing, and also the case was reported by ACP, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Ezekiel Mitu Ebapu, the commandant of the training school at Masindi Station, on July 20th. Also in there between July 13th and 20th, also 24, the recruits who were reporting for training at probation police constables as police professional constables also presented forged academic documents. That's police verification team from also the Uganda Police Human Resource Center in there. These documents were subsequently also dissolved and also discovered to be fraudulent in there. But how do you make sure that people do not present fake documents. It means that as parents, we need to make sure that our learners and our children take advantage of schools. So that they are not also part of this who will be able to suffer from also the future in there. And as the school-going age children, and you who is supposed to be going to school right now, you must make sure you take advantage of school. Concentrate on your books. Get the papers that you want. So that at the end of the day, it will also be easy for you to pass the process in there and pass the interviews, and other than also being arrested and also being put behind bars as a suspect will not be also a matter that will be arising. But we are saying now a team of officers from Masindi police station led by Assistant Superintendent of Police Simon Ochiti Peter, the OCCID also Masindi, has traveled to Kabale to police training school to conduct the inquiries also into the matter in there. And according to Chiti, the original documents are being sent to the Uganda National Examinations Board (NEB) for verification already, and that is already where the matter is now being investigated. And the police statement as seen by journalists also indicated that also all suspects and their properties were handed over to Masindi Central Police Station, and the statement already further revealed most suspects admitted to forging their documents and with the intention of also joining the police in there. And Alan Hakiza, the Albertine Police also regional police spokesperson, confirmed the arrest and noted that also the suspects are being released on bail. But how do we make sure that such people get maybe to move up to where they have come from? Imagine somebody coming from a Germany, because we have at least who are coming from a Germany on this. We have also one about from Pakwach, and some from Arua City and Arua District as well, who have not been excluded among also those who have been arrested from West Nile in there. But what does this mean? This is something also I should be asking maybe the viewer out there. Could it be that our people are not focusing on the books? Definitely I do not know, but I can confirm to you that this is entirely a wrong meaning, and also something which also we should be able to desist from, because if at all we are not also engaging in that, then definitely that is already something at the end of the day that will make us feel very bad as a nation. But we can still do much by letting our learners go to school, and as parents we need to pay the school fees of our children, because at the end of the day, this child who is going to be released from Kabadi after maybe paying some money and also reach up that level will not be able to forgive you, because if at all you refuse to pay the fees, and then definitely this child is going to be coming with a lot of anger. Imagine the kind of training and also maybe the checkups that the person went through, also from where they come from. Imagine just that kind of pain. And then to be exited just at the training school, definitely the pain is always there. But we are saying this shouldn't be the case, and as students from this region, as pupils, that shouldn't be something that we should wait, because at the end of the day now we are seeing, at least to become as a police constable, usually we ask for, now we have seen the country asking for what we call senior 4, and recent UPDF carried out, we also asking for senior 4, and that's why we're saying at least let's make sure that we have the senior 4 papers, so that we are not left out. And that is one thing also at the end of the day that will also be making us proud as a nation. And the statement further revealed that most suspects admitted to forging the documents, as Alan Akiz, also the Albert and regional police spokesman, confirmed the instance, and now they have also been able to produce the original documents upon also for verification in there. And that is where I want to also leave that discussion with. And if I can very briefly maybe talk about something in the line to politics, FDC now debates new ideas to curb stage managed defections is another story that we are seeing on the paper this morning. And how effective is this strategy? Somebody out there could be asking, but I can confirm to you that the leaders of the Forum for Democratic Change Party's National Kumi faction are optimistic that their new also membership identity card will put an end to what we call stage managed defections, and the party leaders are now also currently touring the country to mobilize the masses to register electronically and become also already members before being issued new membership identity cards, similar also to national cards, and there's already driver's licenses. And that is one thing also already that will also already be going digital. And that means already they have also identified the strategy, but how effective it and how will it work? Definitely that is something also already we are following up on. And the new IDs will replace the easily duplicated paper-made IDs. And Brian Ogut, the Deputy Secretary for Mobilization in charge of Northern Uganda, told also journalists that in an interview that the leaders of the other political parties, including that is NRM, that's previously bought FDC IDs, issued them also to their own supporters and stage defections. And that is only where we did see crossovers. And how realistic is this and how true is this? That is something also really where FDC is trying very, very much hard, maybe to revive its support at the grassroots levels. But this is something I must say could be also really a good initiative if at all it will work. And if at all it will not work, still we are saying we are yet following up on this matter. Remember, 2006 is not very far. We are just left with about now 16 months. That is to also really the general elections in there. But that is one thing also really somebody out there should also really be interested in. And the new ideas also really he believes will put an end to the practice also really of stage defections, where people come with their IDs and say, I've been a supporter of FDC, maybe FDC, now I'm crossing into this party. But how realistic is this and how will it work? Definitely, we are following up on that. But according to the party leaders, the new IDs have also features that make it hard for other people to duplicate them or buy them from the market. And these features already include a barcode containing detailed information about also the card holder, unique serial numbers, and the holder's photo, and there's already a thumbprint, also which have also all been included on the digital ID in there. And I'm going to explain that the party has also already made membership registration easy, allowing people also already to work from also the comfort of their homes and also the workplaces using also already a smartphone or a computer, where he said you just visit our official website and register to become a party member in there. And that is according from the information from the member. And also the electronic also registration number will also benefit members of other political parties who will also wish to join FDC, but hesitate also to do so publicly. In that means already now they can be able to secretly just join. It means already this is some strategy also the FDC is doing to also already beef up its supporters, so maybe its support that is right from the grassroots levels. So Indian Hassan Fungaro Caps, the party deputy president in charge of Northern Uganda, disclosed that all the memberships already electronically with registration for the Choli sub-region already will also be official launched on August 3rd at the Kaunda grounds already in Gulu City, India. And the launch will be in form of a rally, and everyone also already is welcome to attend. And he said during a recent engagement with journalists already in Palenga Town Council in Omoro District, India, and that's something we did see happening in there. Meanwhile, James Ochen, the National Resistance Movement also party chairman for Gulu District, said his party does not also fake defections or bribe supporters of other political parties to join it in there. That's also the information we did see happening from that gentleman in there. And how will this be of benefit maybe for Forum for Democratic Change party, which once also was the main or leading opposition party in the country, which was already the pride which they lost in 2021 general elections? That is National Unity Platform Party after NUP, which is such a new party already was able to raise more members into parliament. And how is FDC planning also to regain that support ahead of 2026 general elections is certainly something somebody out there could be interested in knowing in there. But I can confirm to you, we are following up on that matter, and we want to see this also really be of importance, also really maybe ahead of 2026 general elections in there. And that is one thing also really where I will be leaving the discussion, and I will be tackling in other issues related to politics later on. But now let's talk about issues of hate, where the North Chigezi Diocese Bishop has also voiced concern over the rampant corruption questions and also the issues happening in the country, where the Bishop of North Chigezi Diocese in the Kunjiri District, Right Reverend Onesimus Asimwe, expressed this deep concern over the pervasive corruption in the country, which he described also already as severely hindering service delivery to the nation. Also, Indian Bishop Asimwe voiced these sentiments on Sunday also during his sermon at the installation ceremony of Vulnerable Deacons Baguma, the Archdeacon also of Nyakiroshoza Archdeacon, that's in Nyakisenyi sub-county in Rukunjiri District, India. And in his sermon, Bishop Onesimus lamented also the prevalence of societal evils such as corruption, also the hatred and tribalism, unfairness, human rights abuses, brutality by security forces, selfishness and domestic violence, despite the large number of Christians. And also he talked about issues of corruption and also wealth corruption, and these are issues really I feel which we also need to talk about as a nation, because many of times we have been talking about corruption and singing the song of corruption and corruption, but how do we also really make sure that also these issues of corruption also does not go on? And remember, corruption is not only money, but in most cases people think about corruption when they ask for bribes from them. That is when they think it's corruption. What about those who are missing duty? That is still corruption. What about these people who have been paid to do work and they did not do the work as effective and also execute their missions also as expected? That is still corruption. But in most cases, on a sad note, people think about corruption when they only ask for bribes from them. But that's where we're saying corruption is not only money, and corruption is in very many forms, and also where we now need to engage ourselves and also interest ourselves in understanding the other forms of corruption also in there. And addressing the gathering as the guest of honor, Commissioner also the General of Prisons, Canon Dr. James Johnson Biabaseja, expressed grave concern over the escalating corruption, urging church leaders solely to pray for the nation in the terms of solely addressing the vice in the Venerable Dickens Baguma, the newly installed Archdeacon of Nyasirashoza, Archdeacon, thanked Bishop Onesimus for gracing the installation ceremony in there, and he called for unity and cooperation among the Christians in Nyasirashoza Archdeacon, emphasizing also that the teamwork will also foster both personal and community development also in there. And that is one thing also really I feel we need to also talk about as we get to move on with the show. But how do you make sure issues of corruption does not continue to drag us behind as a country? Because many of the times we have seen the country being pulled back because of issues of corruption, and definitely that is already where we need to also really make sure that we talk about. Because at the end of the day, if at all we're not also addressing issues of corruption, definitely that is already something at the end of the day that will be able to draw us behind. But really corruption also is manifested in several ways, and this is where we are saying the country is taking a center stage now in also in terms of addressing corruption, where we have seen the issues of fighting corruption has now started right from the top level, but we are saying it's really stopped there. We want to see the rest of these investigative bodies also really move up the grassroots levels and up the local governments. We need to make sure that the corruption also which is in there is kicked out, because in most cases we have seen also that issue also arising in there, where contracts solely are being awarded without also clear circumstances. And how is this manifested? We have seen people already appealing also for this bid solely in that. That is a clear justification that also sometimes these contracts are not awarded also in a way that is just, and that's also where people feel justice has not been served to them, and they in most cases solely rush out and also really complain about issues of how the contracts were awarded. But how do we make sure also that issues of such caliber are also kicked out of the public domain, and as a country we also have trust in what we call our system in there? But that is something at the end of the day I feel as a nation we also need to give a keen interest to, and also address that matter in the best way possible in there. But really I want to say that is a matter that we are yet following up on, and we want to also make sure that there's an end to that, because if at all we're not also ensure that there's an end to that, and then definitely the government program solely, which among others now is PDM, also yield the fruits of what is expected out of it in there. Because sometimes if at all that's not done so, then the PDM officials are going to be asking for bribes also only on who is vulnerable in there, and that's where we are likely to see the middle class also really appearing as the vulnerable poor in there. And that is where we are now seeing Minister also really Musasi, who is in charge of general duties at Ministry of Finance, also really saying that we are struggling to also really trust PDM impact on ground is that what we are seeing right now. But we are saying the Minister of also State for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, in charge of general duties, also Dr. Mr. Henry Garinya Musasi, has admitted also that the country and government is facing challenges solely in tracing the impact of PDM at the grassroots level solely in there, because this is really the reality. Many of the times people think that this is campaign money, just money that it is for them to eat, but we are saying that is not what is also expected out of them. And launched by President Dr. Museveni in February 2022, the initiative aims to improve service delivery and elevate poverty also by providing its member of also formed groups with shillings 1 million solely as capital to also start income generating projects in there. And however, Mr. Musasi revealed that the government also really has failed to track also the beneficiaries and have also done with the money, and what exactly they have done with the money. But we are saying, if at all government gave you money to also make sure that you improve on your life, but why would you misuse the money? Why would you eat the money? Because this is money really government has given to also make sure that he helps you. And if at all government is giving you money to help yourself, but why don't you help yourself out? And you have seen also today becoming parents just because of PDM money. We have seen women who have been married, we're using PDM money. And we have children today who have been born out of PDM money. I was recently in one of the local governments where I saw a child called PDM. But really, what is wrong with the society, and how exactly can we be able to solely be of importance and address also such issues is also something that we, and when we talk about we, it means that me and you have to do something, because at the end of the day, that is solely something I feel is very, very much important. And Mr. Msesu said that the mess was registered in Humambo Town Council in Rubana. This is already where the money was given to residents of Kawali districts, and that's something we did see happening in there. And the minister also reported cases of extortion by parish chiefs where beneficiaries were forced to pay bribes to access the funds in there. And despite the efforts to address the corruption, including arrest of circle leaders and civil servants responsible for dispersing the funds, the project still faces challenges like extortion and dispersing funds to wrong people, including relatives in there. But how do you make sure that we disperse this money without corruption there? Because to give that money to your relative, whoever may be poor, we are saying that is still corruption. If at all the person does not deserve to get the money, and that is where I'm saying it is wrong for people to also get the money under corrupt ways in that. Mr. Msasi won the security that has also kicked off investigation issues, and those who are found maybe guilty risk being arrested, and that's where we are saying we need to also really engage our masses and also continue to talk to the nation about issues of corruption, because if at all we're not talking about the issue of corruption, and then definitely that is also really where it will be also very wrong for us to understand as a nation in terms really of addressing corruption. But how do we make sure that corruption that we are talking about does also continue to go on, and we also need to now fill the government projects which are on ground. That's in terms of poverty elevations, which have also really been there. And when we talk about poverty elevation programs, the government of Uganda has done quite a lot. We have the parish development model, which is now running. We have the Miaga, which is still running also in some places. As also we have failed to also press the impact in some of the areas where some of the organizations just borrowed the money and update. They find it very much difficult. And in Western sub-region and in districts also of Greater Nibi, we have also quite often seen the complaints also being raised in that area, where it is said that some of the circle leaders are currently on the run, and the beneficiaries of Myoga who are also currently on the run after they failed to remit back the money. And this is already where I want to say this is a revolving fund. Money you are supposed to borrow, and after using, hand it back. But in most cases, our poor are still not. I don't know if it is issues of financial literacy or it is just our mindset that needs to be changed. But in most cases, we have people who have received the monies and they can hardly return back the money. But what can we do as a nation, and how can we be of importance to the nation in terms of addressing this matter is something also really I feel I need to let you know. But how do we make sure that the nation also really has something they can do with this money? Look at 1 million. We have today millionaires who started with 1 million, and this is mindset, and they started with 1 million, even less than 1 million, and today they are rich. And how do you make sure that we have many of these people who started with less capital, and today they have the monies, and they're taking care of themselves? And this is where I'm saying, if at all, with the 1 million government is giving you, you are going to be utilizing it very well. At the end of the day, your destination will only be quite simple. That is where you are going to be also raising money and also take care of yourself in there. But that is one thing also at the end of the day, I really feel we need to also talk about, because if I told we're not talking about it, then definitely that will be a disservice to you as the viewer who is watching us right now. But I feel that is something also really at the end of the day, you as a viewer, you need to interest yourself with. If I told you qualify to benefit the PDM money, or else, if your relative out there benefiting from this money, why don't you tell them to also utilize the money properly, to also make sure they better themselves up? And that is where I want to leave that discussion aside with, as we get to move on with the show, and as we get to finalize the first hour with the legislators put UEDCL to task ahead of Umeme takeover. And remember, Umeme power in the country, in the central, this solely in some parts of northern Uganda, and I believe some of the areas in the northern Uganda parts solely are being supplied by Umeme in there. And now the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited, UEDCL, will now need to hire at least 3,000 staff to effectively supply households in the post-Umeme era. And this is only according to companies Paul Mwesigwa, who did make that confirmation in there. And that's only where I want to say now, whoever qualifies from the region, These 3,000 also really must make sure to also really, we also incorporate ourselves in there. We must also interest ourselves in wanting to apply and also really be part of that also initiative. And remember, has about 2,500 employees, but as it's went also really down in this operation in the country, and noticeable drop in also in the quality of service delivery has left consumers frustrated. But Mr. Mwesigwa said following a discussion with Meme, UEDC also is planning to have that is 310 employees to meet and also to overcome the challenges of employees and also service delivery in there. But the challenge is just due to manpower, as Meme is reluctant to also reinvest its profits in operations that is already washed and also off in there. That means also now after the takeover, it will mean that the country will have to recruit more staff to also bridge the gap in there, and it leaves Mwesigwa and his UDCL with their also work cut, and also as they prepare to take over the supply of also the GC house also in there. And Meme is already packing up its pliers and rubber gloves already ahead of exit. That's also said to take place. That's on March 31st or 2025. But legislators at the committee of also the COSASE, which is also abbreviated as COSASE, which is known in full as Committee of Commissions, Statutory Associations also and State Enterprises, feel the incoming operators of electricity supply also in the country have a lot of explaining that they need to do the country before they kick up with the also operations in there. Remember, was formed in 2004 when the government of Uganda also released the UECD consortium, belong also to Global Corp, a 56%, a subsidiary also of Commonwealth Development Corporation of the UK, and also ESCOM of South Africa in there with the 44% in there. And in February 2024, Parliament also was informed of plans by government to borrow about 2.8 trillion also from the external lenders to cater for costs of Meme's exit in there. And that means on Friday, officials also from UEDCL appeared before COSASE to answer queries raised in the December 2023 General Auditor General's report, and the Attorney General also report. Also, the Auditor General reports found several areas of concern of managing also the management of UECDL that would also suggest that the current woes Meme also is facing might not end up with the transfer of the operations of the UEDCL in there. And the UEDCL has been operating also in areas also with debt which also really shot up. That's about 170%. That's from 17.97 billion 2021 of financial year of 2021/2022 to shillings 48.49 billion in the financial year of 2023/2024 in there. And that's 2022/2023 in there. And according to also the Auditor General's report, revealed that we did see increase from mainly also due to unpaid owners, engineers, provisions from Karuma and the Simba Hydro Power also amounting that's 18.5 billion, and that is solely something where I will be summarizing the first hour with, and I want to say we are going to be taking the rest here, and we shall be able to continue with the discussions in the second hour. For now, allow me to stop here, and I want to say stay tuned to West Nile TV as we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Cameras, check. Lights, check. Sound, check. Judges, check. Action. Get ready for the Miss Uganda Grand Finale live at 8 p.m. on 3rd August 2024. 28 finalists in boot camp. One crown. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Follow the beautiful journey to the final on Makula Chika, exclusively on Star Times every Friday and Saturday at 8 p.m.
Sponsored by VNA, LMZ, Comform, Mandarin Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors, Grass Textiles and U-Home.
Miss Uganda 2024, true Ugandan beauty.
Just College War Girls invites parents, political leaders at all levels, civil servants, civil society organizations, the business communities, cultural leaders, OGs of War Girls and OBs of St. Aloysius College Nyapea, schools representatives within Zombo and all well-wishers for the school's Patron Saints Day on the 20th of July 2024 at the school starting at 10 a.m. with Holy Mass to be presided over by His Grace Raphael Pumonyo Courage, the Archbishop of Gulu Archdiocese. There will be a fundraising to collect funds for the renovation of staff houses and purchase of a grinding mill for the school. The chief guest for the day will be Dr. Joyce Kadushu Moriku, the State Minister for Primary Education. My name is Gramea Vivian, the head girl of St. Peter's College War Girls. I also invite you all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from the short commercial break. We are back into our second hour, just 2 minutes after 8 o'clock. And I want to take this opportunity now to welcome you back from wherever you're watching us from. It could be within here, West Nile sub-region, in parts of Bongi, Moyo, Ajumani, and the entire West Nile sub-region, in Aluru sub-region, districts of Nebi, Pakwach, also already Zombo, and other areas in there. But we are saying you are most welcome to West Nile TV KOKOLIRIKO live show. And for those of you who are watching us within the Mada, Arua district, we are also saying we are proud of you. If at all you are watching us, maybe in parts of Vura, we are still saying that is where we want to take this opportunity to welcome you. And for those who are watching us here within Arua City, where our headquarters are, that's in plot 19A, where the head back lane, we are still saying you are most welcome to this edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show. It being a Monday, this is the first edition of the show also already, where we delve in the discussions already into some of the topics so we keep you reminded of until Friday, because this show comes your ways every Mondays to Fridays. And this is already where on Mondays like this, we come also to let you know of what transpired on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. It means already we are prepared for you a lot that you also you need to know as the viewer. But really, if I can be able to sort of keep you reminded of some of the stories, I still have lots more that also already happening on the papers this morning. And remember, one of the quite interesting stories is that Nita Yu yields Caesar also already in government data portfolio fight is another story that we are seeing on the past morning, where the National Information Technology Authority, abbreviated as the NITA-U, has agreed to hand over operations of the national backbone infrastructure and e-government infrastructure also really to the newly Uganda Telecommunications Company, that is also abbreviated as a band also named UTEL in there. That means already we are going to now be seeing the works also really being also done by that new company, that the NITA-U executive director, that Dr. Hatib Mugasha, in July 16th, also later, that's the executives also of UTCL and Roward Capital Commercial Broker LLC confirmed readiness to hand over the infrastructure and Dubai-based Roward Capital are the new investors in the UTCL in their Uganda Telecommunication Company Limited. And that's something where we now want to see the revival of the UTCL in there. And I feel this is something that will be able to make us also really proud as a nation. And Dr. Mugasha further indicated that they will also take also under consultation so with the Kenyan company, Soiton Telmec Limited, also who have also where they have also agreed. And that's where we did see NITA is therefore to also ready and willing to also hand over the NBI to UTCL immediately to also at such a time also to also allow also the ICT minister, also Dr. Chris Barrom, also Attorney General Kilowa Kilowanika, and Presidential Principal Private Secretary Mr. Gloria also the CEO also reads in part in there. And that is one thing also really I feel as a nation we should be able to be proud of. And NITA-U is the central body mandated also to cooperate government IT services And the development also comes after President Museveni on July 24th already read a riot act that's for NITAU and ICT Ministry also officials to immediately close also the UTCL road, a merger within 21 days by July 14th also in the letter also that is to Dr. Chris Bariomosi. The president also expressed shock that the investors who want to rescue UTL have also not yet also got an agreement from the government, and that's one thing also we did see happening in there. But now are we going to be seeing the revival and the vibrancy also of this company is also something that also we should also be interesting ourselves in, and that is also where we did see the claim by NITAU that information is confidential is wrong, and if not dishonest also NITAU allowed somebody to use our national backbone without knowledge, and that these are issues also where we have seen the complaints arising, and I really feel as the viewer I will not be able to continue with that also in there. I feel also we need to leave that aside. Now also really to keep you in mind, Professor Suruma urges cooperatives to advocate for revival of the cooperative bank is another story that we are seeing on the papers this morning, where former finance minister Professor Ezra Suruma has called upon cooperatives to spearhead efforts for the revival of what we call the Uganda National Cooperative Bank, aiming to solely make capital more accessible and affordable for the citizens in there. And delivering a keynote address on cooperative banking models on Saturday at National Cooperative Symposium held in Masaka City ahead of International Cooperatives Day. Professor Suruma also criticized the oligopoly also prevalent also in Uganda's financial sector, and also since colonial times, which he believes has also disadvantaged the country's business also community in there. And expressing concern, Suruma highlighted the currently 3 out of the 23 commercial banks in Uganda are locally owned, and also underscoring also the need for indigenous financial institutions to enhance what we call service delivery. And he identified Centenary Bank, Housing Finance Bank, and Post Bank as the locally owned banks in the country, and that is where he called upon for the revival of the Uganda Commercial Bank. And that's where he said in 2006, during my tenure as the financial minister, he visited China and discussed with the finance minister there, and when he also mentioned that 80% of banks in Uganda are owned and operated by foreigners, he remarked also that they are controlling your economy, and that's also where he also said now for Uganda to have a bank of its own is very, very much good in that. And Professor Suruma observed the distressing trend of businesses having also their properties sold off by banks, and sometimes also intentionally making it difficult for them to repay debts just to acquire their assets in there. And that is one thing which has made a number of businessmen lose their property out there after acquiring loans. But that is where maybe with the revival of the commercial bank in Uganda, that would also really be able to address some of these issues. And he noted that now the defunct cooperative bank was substantial, holding also really half of the total deposits in the banking systems before the National Resistance Movement government took over power in 1986, originally established in the 1960s under the Cooperatives Act also in there. It was later transformed into a limited company under the Companies also Act in there, but in 1999 the Bank of Uganda ordered also its insolvency in there. But now Professor Suruma also challenged local financial institutions to address issues of mismanagement and fraud if they are to flourish in there. And General Wilson Badi, the State Minister for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, announced the information of 7-member committee comprising also the cooperative leaders and representatives from top circles to oversee the revival process of the Uganda National Cooperative Bank in there. But now that is something also which I feel shouldn't remain by the word of mouth, because we really want to see the revival of this bank. Because at the end of the day, first of all, it's going to be making us proud that we have our own bank that is only for Uganda. And I believe just like the revival of the institutions, the Uganda cooperative banks also can be maybe revived in there. And that is where we are following up on that matter, and we want to see the facility be revived in there. And Andrew Chepa, the CEO of Uganda Federation of Community Credit Cooperatives, emphasized the importance of grassroots development discussions where the majority of the people reside, and where we did see the State Minister for Cooperatives, Mr. Frederick Ngobi Gume, assured also government support for cooperatives involved movement that's to boost Ugandan production and productivity in there. And Dr. Sifa Kasim, the Deputy Director General of Agriculture Technology Production at the National Agricultural Research Organization, NARO, urged also what we call cooperatives to embrace value addition and also really support the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda initiative. And that's where also really maybe with the revival of the Uganda Cooperative Bank, we are going to be saying we need to also really embrace our bank and we abandon the rest and also to enjoy our own in there. But really, with the revival, I really feel that will be quite well. And Mr. Robert Kagwa Nsibirwa, the second Deputy Prime Minister Katikiro for Buganda Kingdom, stressed the need also for sustainability and inclusivity for a prosperous future also for the community and the nation at large in there. And that is one thing also we did see happening in there. And I really feel government of Uganda really needs to revive this facility, and that would also make us proud as a nation. And at the end of the day, that is one thing that will be able to make us proud, not so. And as the viewer, David, you have the answer, and that is where I will be able to leave it aside with. And now let's look at some of the stories. Kabushenga has urged the youth rationale to engage. Also, you will also confront radicals. Is also another story that we are seeing on the past morning. That's from Kabushenga, the founding executive director. That's of Uganda Media Center. Mr. Robert Kabushenga has warned the police and also extension of government. He said he once served and with heart of also on his sleeves that also refusing to engage the youth who are seeking peaceful means to fight corruption. So it could end up also in an anarchy. And now a group of also youth who have been planning to have peaceful march against corruption parliament on July 23rd, which is just tomorrow. And remember, the president of the Republic of Uganda during his recent State of the Nation address actually issued a warning to what we call the Gen Z, the Generation Z also of Uganda, who are planning to do maybe what's happening in Kenya, that they should stay warned and should not also really engage in such activities. And also really, that's one thing we did see where now Kabushenga also really coming out to also really say that that will turn the country into anarchy if at all the youth also really are being prevented from their strategy and also really wanting to fight corruption through peaceful means in there. And now, but police have also said they will not allow the planned march also to parliament by the anti-corruption crusaders in there. And however, sharing his thoughts also on a platform also on the online platform X, formerly as Twitter, Mr. Kabushenga also posted an analysis of scenarios warning the refusal of to engage the youth. Also, current rational youth, also thoughts of the youth would only create what we call radical anarchy also in there, and that's one thing we did see happening. And the Uganda Media Center already that was founded by with Kabushenga as the director is the government's communication incubation place after leading also the new vision also into a media empire. Kabushenga also retired into farming in the early 2021 also, where he is now currently engaging also in farming in there, and since also then bought the gang, he was in early communication. He is also moderating the political talk show, what we call the Capital Gang also in there. And the trained lawyer has been critical in terms of fighting corruption in government also, and by individuals also, and advocates for constitutionalism and rule of law also in there. And that is one thing also that I feel I need to remind you of this gentleman that we are talking about. And remember, to fight corruption is not a one-man show, and it's a mandate of everybody. That means only me and you in there. But that is one thing also we need to be doing alone. And definitely we also raised concern about the controversy, and that is one thing also I keep reminding you of. And using his name, Mr. Kabushenga appeared to be stepping down on symbolism for the current also the caliber of the 11th Parliament that is also criticized for having low grade legislators, and that means also as the voters, you need to also really now start looking very much well, because at the end of the day, if at all we are saying that legislator, maybe the 11th Parliament is not right. How do we make sure that also we would not send maybe such for maybe to the 11th Parliament, maybe to the 12th Parliament? But how do you make sure that does not also go on? It means that now you need to start identifying who are going to be your leaders in the next general elections in there. And that is one thing also I feel I need to keep you reminded of, because at the end of the day, me and you have the right to play, because if at all we are not also giving the right leaders, it is us to also suffer the repercussions of also corruption in there. That's where I want to also say tell the youth we need this from those tendencies of solely what we want to maybe copy from Kenya, because at the end of the day that may not be right, and that will not maybe address the issues. But now the country, the top leaders only disease from corruption, because corruption has really made us lose a lot as a nation. And I believe that is something also really that would also be helping us as a nation in terms of solely addressing also the concern in that. Now the planned anti-corruption march is led by Praise Aliokin Opoloje, Cynthia Nakato, George Victor Otieno, and Kennedy Indiamuka, who comes also after President 7 is also really issues on the fight against corruption so in India. That's also really something that we are now saying we are going to follow on that matter. And Mr. Museveni and his ministers have said corruption is wrong, and also really called on, well, also meaning Ugandans to fight it. And and that's where maybe if at all this is also to fight corruption through exposing those who are corrupt, then why is it wrong? Because we need to understand, we need to know whoever is corrupt in there, and that would also make sure those who are maybe likely to engage in such practices will be able to desist from, because the issues of corruption really has made the country lag behind in terms of development, because money that will be used maybe to bring in development sometimes is pocketed by few individuals. But how do you make sure this does not go on? Because mainly that is where we have lost money. But really, I feel as a nation, there's something that we can do in terms of also addressing this matter in there. But really, I feel that is one thing also at the end of the day that me and you also have a mandate in terms of also fighting in there. But that's why I was saying, issues of fight corruption must also be addressed. And remember, Kapsheng is not the only one. Last week we did see Major General Kaindo Tafire, the Internal Affairs Minister, also called upon the youth to stand on and also put an end to corruption and sort of fight poor leadership in the country, which is filled with corruption, also to avoid longevity of a story state. And that's already something we did see happening in there. But now, where he did say, do not allow people to tell you where we are stealing on your behalf. Leaders not steal, and that's why we do not also elect leaders to steal. And that is one thing we did see happening in there. But really, on a sad note, we have also seen sometimes some of the top leaders also coming out to defend those involved in corruption scandals in there. And that is one thing also, as the nation, we really feel bad about. And in Parliament, legislators are also leading the censor of the 4 motions, so motion to move also impeach the 4 commissioners. Also about this 1.7 billion is also going on, and welcome to the planned protest. And ask Speaker Anita Mongos to be present to receive the petition, like she did also in there. And when the residents also of Semabule were allowed to enter Parliament to present the petition also against their MP Theodore Sechkubo, addressing also the journalists also at Parliament on Friday, the MPs demanded a report on how the goons, also really disguised as electors from Semabule, we are allowed also to move inside Parliament. Yet 34-year-old Fatuma Nan Subuga was arrested and also remanded to Luzira prison for staging a lone protest outside Parliament in there. But really, how do you make sure these matters does not go on? Because as a country, I believe we have lost enough. But how do you make sure these matters does not also go on? Because really, at the end of the day, it is us who have also lost in terms of also the fight against corruption in there, because corruption is one of the dangerous cancers to the economy. And I really want to say, with corruption, the country is not going to be developing and the country is not going to be growing. It means that we need to do something. And how are we going to be doing this? Definitely, we have a role to play in terms of addressing that matter in there. And that is where also we continue with the discussion. And I really want to keep you reminded, as later on we are also going to be delving in some of the discussion. And remember, over the weekend on Saturday, we did see the President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, addressing the nation also on issues of wealth creation and also issues of national importance. And when I talk about issues of national importance, one of those areas he actually talked about is the wetlands. And he said there's no compensation for those who have encroached on wetlands. And what does this mean to you who is still in the wetlands? You must now start strategizing and also looking forward to maybe where you're going to be also moving, if at all the team comes to you, because NEMA, which is also the implementing board that's responsible for taking care of the wetlands, when they come to you, definitely they may not be able to listen to your maybe your prayers, maybe your pleas, your cries, but we are saying that shouldn't be the time for you to start crying. Start looking for where to go now, because at the end of the day, that is something also that will be able to bring a lot of pain and misery to the people. But we are saying that is something we should not wait for. And if at all you know that you are settling in the wetlands, stay tuned and also stay warned, as we shall be able to keep you maybe in the right information of what exactly a wetland is. Because somebody out there may be settling in a wetland but does not know what a wetland is exactly. Maybe it is, but we are saying that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be what you wait for, but we are going to be following up on that with you later on. But this is still a KOKOLIRIKO live show as we get to move on with the show. So many issues going to happen on the story. And remember, earlier on we did talk to you about the return of the Kabaka, as we started discussion in the first hour, and also talked about EC visiting also the nation. But I really want to inform you, yesterday we also did have one of those big dignitaries in the country, that is the former president, also already Magogo was also in here, and I will be telling you what exactly brought him and what exactly said, but that will be coming later. But for now, we are going to be starting the discussion with here as we get also the usher our guest later on. For now, let's stop here as we get to continue with the discussions later on. My name is Farish Majid.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Cameras, check. Lights, check. Sound, check. Judges, check. Action. Get ready for the Miss Uganda Grand Finale live at 8 p.m. on 3rd August 2024. 28 finalists in boot camp. One crown. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Follow the beautiful journey to the final on Makula Chika, exclusively on Star Times every Friday and Saturday at 8 p.m.
Sponsored by VNA, LMZ, Comfort, Mandarin Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors, Grace Textiles and U-Home.
Miss Uganda 2024. True Ugandan beauty.
Teachers College War Girls invites parents, political leaders at all levels, civil servants, civil society organizations, the business communities, cultural leaders, OGs of War Girls and OBs of St. Aloysius College Nyapea, schools representatives within Zombo and all well-wishers for the school's Patron Saints Day on the 20th of July 2024 at the school starting at 10 a.m. with Holy Mass to be presided over by His Grace Raphael Pumonyo Courage, the Archbishop of Gulu Archdiocese. There will be a fundraising to collect funds for the renovation of staff houses and purchase of a grinding mill for the school. The chief guest for the day will be Dr. Joyce Kadushu Moriku, the State Minister for Primary Education. My name is Gramia Vivian, the head girl of St. Peter's College War Girls. I also invite you all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Cameras, check. Lights, check. Sound, check. Judges, check. Action. Get ready for the Miss Uganda Grand Finale live at 8 p.m. on 3rd August 2024. 28 finalists in boot camp. One crown. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Follow the beautiful journey to the final on Makula Chika, exclusively on Star Times every Friday and Saturday at 8 p.m.
Sponsored by VNA, LMZ, Comfort, Mandarin Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors, Grace Textiles and U-Home.
Miss Uganda 2024. True Ugandan beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from the short break, and that's where we have now have our guest and also appear on the show, and that is none other than Charles Jogor, the resident city commissioner for Arua City. And remember, on Saturday we did have the state national address that's sorted by His Excellency Dr. Museveni, that is on wealth creation and other issues of national importance. But first thing first, before I bring in the guest, I really want to welcome you to also say a good morning to you, the viewer. That would be quite well.
Thank you very much. To my viewers, good morning. West Nile TV, thank you for inviting me here to share with the population of Arua and West Nile in general, because His Excellency the President addressed the nation on Saturday on matters of national importance.
Yes, I know it has been quite a long period of time that he actually addressed the nation, and the last time I think he addressed was during the State of Nation address. And now he returned with a lengthy speech because it was quite long. And for the first time, I was able to see the president talking for a long period of time, where he stressed a number of issues. And you have also been a long period of time that you are appearing on the show, I believe, as well. When was the last time you were here?
Oh, quite a time.
I remember. Now let's delve into the discussion, and now we see maybe what message should the Ugandans pick from the president's message during also the recent State of Nation address in there.
Thank you very much, and my viewers. His Excellency was very pertinent on 5 issues. But as you have put it correctly, it was a lengthy discussion. First of all, he talked about environment and wetland conservation. The second one was wealth creation. The third one was job creation. The fourth one was political integration. And the fifth was parasitism. So he started by highlighting the most important, that is our life, and that is wetland conservation. And he promised that at a later time, he will be addressing the nation on other environmental issues. Viewers, you are all aware that our wetlands are under attack. And once wetlands are under attack, we are not safe. The future generation is in jeopardy because our wetlands play a critical role. That's why when God was creating the earth, made sure that the wetlands would be there. But now there is a lot of wetland encroachment countrywide. There is equally wetland encroachment here in Arua City. In Arua City, it is so rampant in Aivu division. And yet our wetlands play a critical role. Our wetlands want sieve water. Our wetlands actually play the role the kidneys, our kidneys in the human being are playing. They sieve water so that we have clean water. 2, the wetlands control of floods. You are all aware that this country has been entangled in floods and flooding most areas in this country, including our capital city. Because the vegetation to slow down the water has been encroached. Thirdly, we also have grass. You know, most of our farmers are livestock farmers. And during dry season, it is strictly the wetland that has some fair grass for our animals. We also get food like fish for nutrition in our wetlands. Then it is a source of ecotourism because of the biodiversity in the wetlands. Then the most important is 40% of the rain. These rains we have come from wetlands through evaporation. We are lucky in West Nile that we are bordering DRC Congo. DRC Congo is forested, and then we're also bordering the Nile from southern Sudan. And that's the rain we are getting here. But without that biodiversity, we would be in a semi-desert. Some time back, His Excellency the President, in his wisdom, and I would like to thank the President Museveni, for the strategic guidance he has offered this country. He issued an executive order 3. And one of those was environmental conservation with a focus on wetlands. So if we leave our wetlands to disappear the way they are disappearing rapidly through encroachment, and the most important is wetlands now are being used for agriculture.
Okay.
2, the developers have encroached wetlands. You see gorofas mushrooming from the wetlands.
Okay, sorry to cut you short. About also the evictions in what we didn't see happen in Kampala, the vulnerable people were able to also recite issues of other people who have established themselves on these wetlands, but they were spared. One example they gave is the police station, and then secondly, one of the petrol stations also really, that this post stated. As Arua City, I believe at one time we shall also really want to do the same, that is to evict whoever is in a wetland.
We are going to evict.
How ready are we for this exercise, and how ready are we to also really avoid such issues from arising from the locals?
In Arua, we have already given eviction notices to those who have developed houses, who have developed churches, who have developed petrol stations in the wetland. They already have the notices. Sooner than later, there will be eviction. Of course, there is that complaint that the law is selective.
Yes, that question has been there.
The law is selective, but what NEMA does, before you allocate a place, they conduct environment impact assessment so that they ascertain the conflicts, the man-human and nature conflicts that will arise. And that's what happens.
So does that justify why the petrol survived in the evictions with what we did see in Kampala?
Exactly. That's why some petrol stations, which people claim that those are the
wetlands,
the untouchables. Those are untouchable. No, they must have conducted environment impact assessment.
But how do you make sure that ordinary person who is evicted gets to understand that these were the environment assessments?
That's why His Excellency was addressing the nation. That was sensitizing the public. It's the work of NEMA to sensitize the public on the dangers of encroaching in our wetlands. Even in local government, we have staff that are in charge of natural resources. Even at division level, the most important thing is rigorous sensitization of the population so that they are aware on the dangers of encroaching our wetlands. Viewers, this one is not negotiable. Because if we don't do it, our population will go extinct.
Okay.
This is not negotiable. It's not going to be debatable. If you are in a wetland, if you have developed in a wetland, I would like to make this categorically clear. Please live peacefully, so that when we come to evict you, we don't destroy your property.
Yes, the president actually said there will be no compensation for whoever is established in a wetland. And how is that going to impact on that ordinary person who are the voters?
There is no compensation, yes, as alluded by His Excellency. And he made it categorically clear that the compensation is allowing you to go escort-free. They don't charge because the law is there in the Constitution, the 1995 Constitution. So they don't charge you for encroaching in a wetland. That's the compensation you should be proud of. So there will be no compensation. You have to remove your property so that the population, the entire population in this region, the entire population in this country, the future generation is able to survive. As I put it correctly, there is going to be no negotiation. There are other alternative income generating activities we can derive from the wetland. Things like fish farming. Fish farming is a lucrative business. And I would like to inform the viewers in all districts, in all cities, in all municipalities, we have fisheries officers who can come and educate the population on how to establish fish ponds. We can also, the President equally mentioned that we can also do apple farming. Apples are very nutritious and they are very expensive. Those are the attributes that are allowed in the wetland. But houses, housing, factories and churches are not acceptable because the future will be at doom. These wetlands will dry up, and once the wetlands dry up, we shall have a desert, and once the desert encroaches on us, we shall not have food. That's why government is very tough. And day in, day out, there are sensitizations, there is education, even by non-governmental organizations, to educate the people on the importance of conserving biodiversity, on the importance of saving the species and the ecosystem within the wetlands. So, dear viewers, as I put it correctly, if you are a victim of circumstance, it is a high time you left the wetland so that we safeguard the present and future generation.
Yes, maybe somebody could be interested in understanding that these laws have been there because NEMA was able to gazette these wetlands way back in the areas in the early 2000s. So this way we were able to see demarcations going back that area, and we were able to see a number of facilities that have been tampered with. Somebody is now asking, why now?
Thank you. You know, even a small child, a toddler, will know that this is a wetland. Because we have two types of wetlands. Those that are permanently flooded, and then those that are seasonally flooded. In your own wisdom, if you are located a wetland, you should use your wisdom to know that, no, I think this one is a wetland, and this one is not. Because it floods permanently or seasonally. It is just being notorious. May I call it being notorious in the encroachment of wetlands. People don't know. Even small children know that this is a swamp. So that's why you are now saying, because of your ignorance, you must leave the wetlands so that we safeguard life. Yes.
But do you think we are going to be evicting voters?
You see, you cannot sell the country in the name of voters. And these people are not very many. They are voters, right? But they are not very many. They are a few. That's why I call them a few notorious ones. You cannot sell the country and you leave the future to be saved because of votes. No. That's not how countries are run. You cannot target to voting. You cannot target to politics. The law will safeguard the future of the country, and you'll find that people will be happy in future.
Okay.
They will be very happy and very excited.
Okay.
Let's assume that in Arua City we evacuate our wetlands and we start fish farming.
Okay.
And the market is flooded with fish.
Okay.
And we export this fish to DRC Congo,
okay,
or to Southern Sudan.
Mr. Charles, one thing I must also really tell you is that I want to say this is going to be having the oppositions are going to take advantage of this. We have seen it in Kampala, where we did see recent scandals, where we did see some of the MPs being also arrested because they had gone to also want to meet also those people who have been evicted and those who are also being also planned to be evicted. What can you say about this?
The opposition,
because you say there's no selling vote for maybe for the good of the country.
The opposition, like what happened in Kampala, mostly to Honorable Ibrahim Semuju.
Yes.
They had gone there to incite people to riot against a formidable government program, just to incite the population against government. And His Excellency mentioned on Saturday that all those trying to incite the population to conduct demonstrations will touch fire. Actually, I would call it that is attempted murder. Never try, viewers, if you are incited by the population to riot against government, you will step a snake's tail and you will get a very big bang. His Excellency told the viewers that day that you will touch fire.
Okay, talking about touching fire, we do understand that there's a planned protest against corruption, which is supposed to be taking place tomorrow. And the president said whoever is going to be trying, the Generation Z, because the Generation Z is what we call the youth today, who have come to term themselves as Generation Z. And citing example with what is happening in Kenya, the president said that will not happen in Uganda. What can you say maybe, because we have the mandate, the constitution permits us to do so. If at all I'm not also really happy about what you're doing, Mr. Charles, I can pick the placards and move to the streets and say, we are tired of you, Mr. Charles, and the law permits me to do so. But why is that? Why do we keep on warning and such a message solely that may be not sounding very well at this point? What can you say about that? To those, most especially to those whom are touching fire.
That's what His Excellency, first of all, called parasiting, the parasites. People are very busy doing their businesses, but there are people who are always idle and disorderly. They don't want to work. They want to, they won't get situations and join in situations they do not understand by demonstration. Situations that do not benefit them. That one is not acceptable. My dear viewers, if you have any grievance, there are platforms, like for Arua City. You can come to my office and present that grievance. But to demonstration, to disrupt the business of the people, to disrupt the work of the people by idle persons is not acceptable. That is fire. We have such scenarios here. We have young men, a group of young men who do not want to work because of poor parenting. And what we are going to focus on now is to address the youth and change their mindset to accept work. Demonstration is not work. There are methods of handling issues through dialogue. We can dialogue. Why do you waste time to demonstrate that you want march to parliament? That is not acceptable. Come to us, come to the authorities. And Uganda, fortunately, is one of the well-governed countries in this world. Use those structures to put in your grievances. But demonstrations are not allowed. Those who are planning for the demonstration will touch fire and they will swallow that fire. It is not acceptable here in Uganda. You cannot compare Uganda with Kenya. Never, never. That's not acceptable.
Okay.
For us, we're a peaceful country, and now we are moving towards socio-economic transformation revolution.
Okay.
That's what we should be focusing on.
Okay.
Because of the good leadership.
Okay.
Of our dear president.
Okay. You know, talking about the youths who are raising concern about the fights against corruption in the country, I believe 2026 is actually the right channel they could be able to use to engage in politics. What message do you have for that one youth who is out there and feels that the leadership who are there are not right ahead of 2026 general elections?
I would like to advise the youth. One, accept work. For us in Uganda, for us in Arua City, there are government programs for the youth. We now have PDM, we have a Mioga, among others, that can occupy the youth to get income. Viewers, I'm very happy now with the young men in Arua City. A majority of them are now coming out from criminality. Actually, this week, I will invite you, we are meeting them. They have testified to us that they have been thieves, but they are tired of being arrested, being caned. Now they have come out, they want some skilling programs so that they get income. They told us it's because of poverty, that's why we are forced to pick a phone here and there. But they have seen the situation is volatile outside there, and they have voluntarily come. And this week we are meeting them, and we are also lobbying for some little resources so that we have a bigger team to transform, to change the mindset of the youth first before we skill them in various activities. That is the way to go. Okay. That is what they should do, not to gang, to accept a few politicians, the disgruntled politicians, to confuse their mindsets. That's not acceptable. Let's go for production and productivity because of the peace the NRM government has ushered countrywide.
Okay, still talking about security, this call was actually across the country, that from wherever you are, you can march peacefully up to Parliament. Arua City, are we allowing any protests?
I've made it categorically clear, no protests, and there will be no protest in Arua.
Okay.
People in Arua now are talking of socio-economic transformation.
Okay.
There is no protest in Arua. Let the protest remain, maybe remain in Kampala. But for us here, we are ready to educate our younger persons, we are ready to educate our people on socio-economic transformation, to use the available government programs to develop, instead of wasting time demonstrating, disrupting business, disrupting the order of the day. There are programs to skill the youth, and we are ready for that. So in Arua, there is nothing like a demonstration. Don't think about it. If you have been, if you have been misled, please come to my office. Then we shall share on our incoming programs to change the mindset of our youth to accept work.
Okay.
Yes.
Talking about accepting work, many of our youth also still do not complain that there's no work to do. They are saying they're ready to work, but the jobs are not there. Mr. Charles, what can you say about this? Because if you ask the criminals, they will tell you that openly we are thieves because we have nothing to do. It is because of poverty, which you earlier alluded to. And talking about the government projects, many of them complain that these projects do not reach them.
Yes. Now, there are jobs in this country. And His Excellency categorically stated that we can get, the youth can get jobs in the 4 sectors. 4 sectors. That is commercial agriculture, with the Chura, Otita, Aymar. The problem is, most of the learned youth, after graduating, want white-collar jobs like you. They want to like white-collar jobs, and yet there is a lot of money in agriculture. There is also money in manufacturing. And I would like to inform the viewers that Arua City and West Nile are going to be connected to the national grid next month. Next month. So we should be preparing now we should be preparing and warming up and planning on what to do next, such that we use the available power that is going to be switched on next month for socio-economic transformation.
Okay.
Another sector where jobs are is services. We have hotels where we can get jobs, the private sector. Actually, most jobs now are with the private sector.
Okay.
The government has about 480 jobs. Those are cows, administrators, town clerks, PS, and so on. So we have the hotels. We have boda. It's also a service.
Okay.
We have the roadworks. It's also a service, among others.
Okay.
Then we have ICT. Look at in Arua City, quite a number of young men are employed in cafes, and they are getting money. It is just changing the mindset that let's put our heads together and we join one of the 4 sectors. That's where jobs are. You don't wait with your degree. You have got a degree in development studies, a degree in social science, a degree in journalism. You only want white collar job. No. Most of the progressive farmers, most of the progressive entrepreneurs are university graduates, because they will use that knowledge, whether you have learned history, whether you have learned social sciences, through the training, because now we have in each sub-county, in each division, we have we have extension workers. That's why in Arua City, I'm very tough on service, on extension workers. They must guide our population. So that is the way to go now. Why should you talk about the white collar jobs when we have jobs where we can get resources? Okay. We have the PDM. 1 million. 1 million is not small money. And in Arua City, some households are doing very well. Very well. Tomorrow I'll invite you. We are going for monitoring to monitor some projects. They are doing very well. Somebody starts poultry. From poultry, the person is growing. From maybe 100 chicks, he has grown to 200 to 300. Okay. Some are doing piggery, and they are equally growing. Okay. So we must remove from our medulla oblongata that there are no jobs. Never. Okay. We must accept to use the available means to occupy ourselves and get income. Okay. Finally, I want to also talk about now the issue of socio-economic transformation, which we have just been talking about. And now, as we are waiting to have West Nile region finally be connected to the national grid, I want to say this may be coming with opportunities, because over the weekend we were able to see the president also really come with a number of farmers from different places, and he was able to also let the country know of some of those activities that maybe the farmers can be able to engage in. He talked about coffee, he talked about many others. Because it was a length talk, I cannot be able to really explain them to you now in the remaining minutes. But as West Nile sub-region, what are those opportunities that we are to also really have at our disposal with the connection to the national grid as we get summarized with today's discussion? It is true. West Nile has been yearning for electricity, for socio-economic transformation. And West Nile is a hub, a food basket in this sub-region. I want to give a few living examples. Like cassava. Cassava is everywhere, but we can now add value to cassava. Apart from eating it for the stomach, we can start making ethanol out of cassava, because it's in plenty. There is a village that got PDM in Aivu. The cassava is doing very well. We should now start lobbying for that machinery for value addition, so that we are able to make ethanol and get more resources to our people. 2, another formidable thing here is honey. The honey in West Nile is light amber honey. It is the best honey in the globe. But you see, we are not adding value to that honey. It is still sold in jerry cans, especially within the city here. It is in jerry cans. Supposing we package that honey and it is approved by NBS, and we start exporting honey to the rest of the world, and that is money. One thing I would like to challenge the population of West Nile is we don't have a perennial crop, and yet these soils are so good that even coffee can flourish very well. Two, we are now talking about hash avocado. I'm told hash avocado can do very well in this region, so that we add value to it and we get more money. There are actually quite a number of attributes we can benefit from now that the power has started. We are going to have bigger factories. You know already, we have a soap factory here within Arua city, and it is doing very well. I met some investors who want to bring in cement factory here, and then we also have paint factory starting very soon to produce those products in a big form. So I would like to encourage the population, now that the power is near our doors, near our factories, let's accept to work for socio-economic transformation. That's the only way to go. And we have experts, both at the sub-county, at the district, to guide the population. Let's utilize these people.
Mr. Charles, our time is almost up. I don't know what your final say is as you get to summarize the first edition of the KOKOLIRIKO show for this week.
Thank you very much, my moderator. Thank you very much, viewers. In Arua City, I would like to urge all the population, always, whenever His Excellency is addressing, please try to listen. And people who have listened to him have benefited from the beginning. And I would like to thank him once more for guiding the population. I would like to thank the people of Arua City for struggling hard to make sure that their businesses flourish. I would like to encourage the parents to play their role on parenting so that we have a brighter future. We have a bigger economy in the sub-region. Arua sub-region should be a hub for prosperity in the entire country. I would like to talk briefly about security. Security has improved, relatively calm. The city is relatively calm, but let's maintain it, and we crush a few elements that are trying to bring in insecurity here in our city. It is time to work, for us to work for development. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of today's discussions. My name is Farish Majid. Mr. Charles, thank you so much for coming through to talk to the nation, and I hope you, the viewer, who watched us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning, now you must have had the information that is from the horse's mouth, and he has ably also explained how the implementation of the Executive Order number 3 will also be coming through, because when we talk about the Executive Order number 3, still issues of cutting down the trees is already there. We're not talking about wetlands only, we're also talking about those who have been also impacting on the environment at large. It means those who are cutting down the trees for charcoal, for other uses. Definitely that law will also be able to catch up with you. And that brings us to the end. And before we get to move out, and remember, yesterday we did see also really Engineer Hashim Magogo also being in the region. He was able to meet a number of stakeholders, and we also saw him also explaining some of those issues, and more details that will be coming through on the Wisho time. And that brings us to the end of the discussions. And up next is the news bulletin in Lubarati with Fete Manuel. Have a good day.
Thank you.